the elevator video that still confuses investigators. Imagine checking into a hotel in downtown Los Angeles. A few days later, you vanish without a trace. Police search the building. Guests complain that the water tastes strange. Then, weeks after your disappearance, maintenance workers make a horrifying discovery on the hotel's rooftop. But what truly captures the world's attention is a 4-minute elevator surveillance video. In the footage, a young woman appears to be hiding from someone or something. She presses multiple elevator buttons, peeks into the hallway, steps in and out repeatedly, and makes unusual hand gestures before disappearing forever. More than a decade later, people are still debating what happened inside that hotel. This is the story of ELISA LAM. The journey before the mystery, before the headlines, before the theories, before millions of people around the world became fascinated by a grainy elevator video, there was simply a young woman looking forward to an adventure. Every year, thousands of travelers set out alone in search of new experiences. For many, it's an opportunity to discover unfamiliar places, meet new people, and create memories that will last a lifetime. In early 2013, ELISA LAM was one of those travelers. She packed her belongings, left her home in Vancouver, Canada, and began a journey through California. Like many young people documenting their travels, she shared updates with friends and family along the way, giving every indication that she was enjoying the experience. Nothing about the beginning of her trip suggested that it would end in tragedy. There were no signs that this vacation would become one of the most talked about mysteries on the internet. To everyone who knew her, ELISA was simply another young traveler exploring a new city. She couldn't have known that one stop on her journey would change how the world remembered her forever. ELISA LAM was born in Vancouver, Canada in 1991. Friends and family described her as intelligent, creative, and outgoing. She was a university student with a love for books, fashion, and travel. Like many young people, ELISA documented parts of her life online through blogs and social media. She was also open about her struggles with mental health, including bipolar disorder and depression. In January 2013, ELISA decided to take a solo trip through California. The journey was meant to be an adventure, a chance to explore new places before returning home. One of her final stops would be Los Angeles, and that's where the mystery begins. The hotel that changed over time. When the Cecil Hotel first opened in the 1920s, it was considered a respectable destination in downtown Los Angeles. Business travelers and tourists stayed there while the city experienced rapid growth. Hotels that once catered to visitors increasingly became low-cost accommodations for long-term residents and people passing through difficult circumstances. Over the years, several violent crimes, accidental deaths, and highly publicized incidents became associated with the building. News reports and documentaries gradually gave the hotel a reputation that many described as unsettling. As stories spread online, the Cecil became surrounded by myths and urban legends. Some believed the building was cursed or haunted, while others argued that its reputation simply reflected the challenges facing the neighborhood around it. Whatever the explanation, one thing was certain. Long before ELISA LAM arrived, The Cecil Hotel had already become one of Los Angeles's most infamous buildings. At the time ELISA checked in, however, she was simply looking for an affordable place to stay while exploring the city. There is no evidence that she chose the hotel because of its history, or that she was even aware of it. Cecil Hotel had already developed a notorious reputation long before ELISA arrived. Opened in the 1920s, the hotel once catered to business travelers and tourists. But over the decades, the surrounding neighborhood changed dramatically. The area became associated with crime, poverty, and homelessness. The hotel itself gained infamy for violent incidents, unexplained deaths, and connections to notorious criminals. Some people even referred to it as one of the most haunted hotels in America. Whether those stories were exaggerated or not, they contributed to an atmosphere of unease surrounding the building. In January 2013, ELISA checked into the hotel without knowing that it would later become central to one of the internet's most discussed mysteries. ELISA arrived in Los Angeles on January 26, 2013. She remained in contact with her family throughout her trip. According to reports, she called home regularly. Then, suddenly, communication stopped. On January 31st, she was scheduled to check out of the hotel. She never did. Her family became concerned almost immediately. When days passed without any contact, authorities launched a missing person investigation. Police searched the hotel. Guests were questioned. Rooms were checked. But there was no sign of ELISA. It was as if she had vanished. As media coverage increased, investigators released a piece of evidence they hoped would generate leads. Instead, it created a worldwide obsession. The search begins. As the days passed without any word from ELISA, concern quickly turned into urgency. Her family, who had been expecting regular phone calls throughout her trip, knew something was wrong. When she failed to check out of the hotel and could no longer be reached, they contacted authorities. Investigators began piecing together her final known movements. Officers searched the hotel, spoke with staff members, reviewed surveillance footage, and questioned guests who might have seen her. Missing person posters were distributed throughout Los Angeles, while news organizations began reporting on the case. Friends and strangers alike shared ELISA's photograph across social media in the hope that someone might recognize her. Despite these efforts, investigators found very few clues. It was as though ELISA had simply vanished inside one of the busiest cities in America. As public attention grew, police made the decision to release surveillance footage from inside one of the hotel's elevators. They hoped someone would recognize her behavior or remember seeing her that day. Instead, the footage would raise far more questions than answers. The surveillance footage was recorded inside one of the hotel's elevators. At first glance, nothing appears unusual. Then ELISA enters. She begins pressing several buttons. The elevator doors remain open. She peeks around the corner of the doorway as if checking whether someone is outside. Moments later, she steps out, then back in. She appears nervous. At times, she presses herself against the wall. At others, she moves into the hallway and returns. Near the end of the video, ELISA performs a series of unusual hand and arm movements. Then she walks away. The footage ends. That was the last confirmed sighting of her alive. The video spread rapidly across the internet, Millions watched it, and almost everyone had a theory. Was she hiding from someone? Was she communicating with an unseen person? Was she experiencing fear? Or was something else happening entirely? The mystery deepened because nobody could explain what happened next. The internet becomes the investigator. Within hours of being released, the elevator footage began spreading across the internet. At first, people simply wanted to help identify what had happened to ELISA. But as millions watched the video, the focus quickly shifted from finding answers to interpreting every second of the footage. Online communities paused the video frame by frame, searching for details investigators might have missed. Viewers noticed ELISA pressing multiple elevator buttons, stepping in and out of the elevator, and appearing to look into the hallway several times. Many wondered why the elevator doors remained open for so long. Some believed she was hiding from someone just outside the camera's view. Others suggested she was speaking to a person who never appeared on screen. Her unusual hand and arm movements became another subject of intense debate, with countless theories attempting to explain what they meant. As discussions grew, people also questioned the surveillance footage itself. Some claimed the video appeared to have missing frames or unusual timing, leading to speculation that it had been edited before being released to the public. While these observations fueled countless online discussions, investigators never stated that any alterations changed the overall events shown in the footage. The mystery soon spread far beyond news reports. YouTube creators, internet forums, podcasts, and online communities all began offering their own explanations. Some theories were based on available evidence. Others relied almost entirely on speculation. The more people searched for answers, the more complicated the mystery seemed to become. But while the internet focused on theories, investigators continued examining the evidence piece by piece, hoping the facts would eventually tell a clearer story. Weeks after ELISA disappeared, hotel guests began making complaints. Some reported low water pressure. Others said the water looked discolored. A maintenance worker was sent to inspect the rooftop water tanks. What he found shocked everyone. ELISA's body was discovered inside one of the tanks. The revelation immediately raised difficult questions. How did she reach the roof? How did she enter the tank? Why hadn't search teams found her sooner? And if she entered on her own, what would motivate someone to climb into a large water tank in the first place? These questions fueled intense speculation online. But investigators would soon begin piecing together a different explanation. The internet exploded with theories. Some suggested ELISA was being chased. Others believed she had encountered a criminal. There were even supernatural explanations involving ghosts and curses linked to the hotel's reputation. Many viewers focused on the elevator footage. Some argued her behavior indicated she was hiding from someone. Others believed the video had been altered because of timing irregularities. As the case spread through documentaries, forums, and YouTube channels, the mystery grew larger than the facts themselves. But investigators continued examining evidence, witness statements, and medical records. Eventually, official findings would point toward a very different conclusion. What the public often missed. As discussions continued online, several important details about the investigation were often overlooked. One of the biggest questions was how ELISA reached the rooftop. Many people assumed it would have been impossible without assistance. However, investigators determined that access to the roof was possible under certain circumstances, although exactly how ELISA reached that area could not be established with complete certainty. Another source of confusion involved the water tanks themselves. Many people imagined they were impossible to enter, but maintenance workers regularly accessed them for inspections. While climbing into one would have been extremely unusual, it was physically possible. People also questioned why search teams failed to locate ELISA sooner. The answer was more complicated than many realized. Large buildings contain countless areas that cannot always be searched immediately, and investigators must often work within legal and practical limitations. The rooftop water tanks were not initially considered the most likely location during the early stages of the search. As more information became public, many of the most popular internet theories began colliding with the official evidence. For investigators, the goal was never to create the most mysterious explanation. Their responsibility was to determine which explanation was best supported by the available facts. The official investigation found no evidence of assault. The Los Angeles County coroner ultimately ruled ELISA's death an accidental drowning. Investigators noted her history of bipolar disorder. According to reports, she may not have been taking all of her prescribed medications at the time. Experts suggested that a bipolar episode could potentially explain the unusual behavior seen in the elevator footage. Under this explanation, ELISA may have been experiencing paranoia, confusion, or other symptoms that affected her actions. While this conclusion answered some questions, it did not satisfy everyone. Many people felt certain aspects of the case remained unclear, and so the debate continued. More than a decade later, ELISA Lam's story remains one of the internet's most discussed mysteries. The elevator footage still fascinates viewers because it captures a moment that feels unsettling and difficult to interpret. But beyond the theories and speculation, it's important to remember that ELISA was a real person, a daughter, a student, and a traveler whose life ended tragically. The mystery may never completely disappear from public discussion. Yet the most important part of the story isn't the elevator video. It's remembering the person at the center of it. What do you think happened? Was the official explanation convincing, or do you believe there are still unanswered questions?